We are here. We are ready to build some more of our app. Today, and this was a question in the comments about how to do something, we're going to implement sort of a search within our app. Now, the original question wasn't even necessarily specific for our app, but it's something I want to do anyway, so I thought I would address it. One thing I think that sort of came out of those comments and people replying was I think thinking about it kind of as like filtering your results, which that's pretty easy to do, right? If we had a whole bunch of venues, we could have a search bar and we could just in our provider kind of like search, basically like look for similar words. If I start typing odd, it would give me odd burger. If I typed O, I'd probably have McDonald's with it too. Yeah, that seems about it. The problem with that approach, doing it only client side, is we are paginating things server side, meaning if we were to do it that way, you would only say you were only on the first page of results and you were filtering those, you would miss out on page 2, page 3, page 4 of this like infinite pagination. So it really is something that needs to come into the server. Like the only way to do it fully client side is if you got all the data back, and that could be a list of a million things for all and then filtered it client side. But we don't want to do that. We want to do it properly. So that's kind of what we're going to try and do here. Yeah, we're just going to get into it. So let's start with just a little bit of UI just to kind of make it fun. We're going to open up our venue root screen and just take a look at this. So we have our list and we have our map. So we want to do this within the list. Our search on our map will probably have a search as well, but I don't think it's about, usually in a map when you're searching, you're not searching, it's more about searching for a location. So I think if we did add search to a map, it would be like searching for Toronto or something, and it would just center you on it, as opposed to like finding a location. If you're really like searching for a specific venue, we're going to do it here. So we have our infinite list component. What I need to do is wrap this in a column, and I need to wrap this in an expanded. If I don't, I'll just show you what happens if I don't. If it's just a column, everything get breaks because it doesn't know how much room to take up. You basically have like something that can scroll within something that has no limits on it. However, if we wrap this in an expanded, we'll actually get our little thing back. So it's basically putting in nothing and then taking up the rest of the space. Meaning now we could put something like hello. There we go. So doing it this way means our search bar will always be there, which I think is fine. It's another way we could do this is actually have the search bar basically appended to the first item so that it scrolls with it. But I think we're cool with just having it persistent. So let's do that then. I think there's a search bar. There is like a search bar component. But it like looks kind of weird. But I guess we could work with it as like a sort of thing. So let's have our search bar. Let's make sure it doesn't seem weird. It does seem a little weird just because of the elevation sort of thing here. I kind of feel like, and again, we're not trying to make this beautiful, but let's just add a bit of padding around this, something like that. This is, yeah, this is fine for now because we're going to eventually make stuff pretty. We can have a hint text, which is just a string, not a widget. So we can search for venue or something. Search your venue, cool. We'll make it prettier, but it's really just like this functionality, functionality over aesthetic, I guess. Okay, so great. So we have that. Let's skip over to the server side now because we need to figure out how to actually do this. So we're going to go to our venue endpoints. And right now we have a list, we have a retrieve, we have a save, all that kind of stuff. What I want to do is I'm going to copy the list and we are going to make one that's just called search. And the main difference here is going to be two things. We are going to also require a string called, we'll just call it query. It's usually a common word for this kind of thing. So we're going to require the query to be passed in here. And now this is the part I don't know how to do. I've done this a million times in like Django and various other things. But how do you actually search in Serverpod? So this is the fine. Let's look at what options we have here. So we have a where clause. I bet it's going to be part of that. And we've done where before. I think this is like the row. And I think we can go like row.name. So we have things like equals, but I think is what we want. This is yeah. So checking if the value in the column is like a specified value by ignoring case, which we definitely want to ignore case. If we use like, it would require it to be case. So we're gonna use I like, and this will kind of search this is just a common database query type. We're just going to search within it for the query itself. Let's also just trim the query too, just because we don't want to really include like spaces on the end or whatever. And this, in theory, will let us do this. So we're just going to save that. Now we do have to do a generate, so we'll run serverpod generate. We don't have to do a database migration, as I'm sure you know, because we didn't make any database changes. But we do have to generate the code so that we get it. And then back on the Flutter side, what I found is the best way to do this is we do a Dart restart analysis server, and that will actually kind of reread the code and have it understand, because there are code changes right now. If you are doing this in the same, if you have all three basically parts of Serverpod, the front end, the back end, and the client open in the same window, you generally don't have to do that because it's kind of watching those files, but these files are outside of the normal context of VS Code right now. So that's one way to do it. There's other ways. That's what I think is the best way though. All right, wicked. Okay, so now let me think how we're gonna do this. So we have provider.paging controller. What is, oh, the provider is the venue list provider.notifier. Okay, so let's take a look at venue list provider and remember how this works. So we have our paging controller. We have our stuff for doing this. Yeah, we're going to copy everything here. We could, in theory, like make a family for this, where like one is when you're getting all, and one is like with a search string. No, we wouldn't even want to use a family, because then actually the search string itself, everything we search for would create its own instance of it. So what we're actually going to do is grab, we need to find this, so we can right click here and go reveal and explorer view. And we're going to just have something called venue search provider.dart. Keep in mind, I'm making this up as I go, but I have a bit of, I've done this before. Okay, so we're just going to rename that there, and we're going to go in here and change this to venue search. Remember, we don't want to have the word provider in here, because then it will become, when it gets generated, it'll be provider. Okay, everything else can kind of be the same. The main difference here is we want to call search. So what we're going to do is we need to generate our code. So we'll use our, did I turn that? I think I turned that extension off. I was having some issues recently with, I couldn't figure out what extension was doing it, but my VS Code was crashing. So I think I disabled that one. So do I have a makefile in this? I don't. I have to remember how to generate code. Build runner. I'm just going to Google it real quick. Flutter run build runner with watch. Oh, yeah, this is basically what we want. I don't know what their error is, but that looks right to me. So what we're going to do, just so I don't have to look this up again, is we're going to actually make a makefile. And if you watch some of my other videos, like most times I have a makefile, because it allows you to just do stuff like, we can have something like gen watch. And we can also have something just like gen, which would basically be the same without the word watch, or I think it's just build instead. And then in our code base, when we're in the root directory, we can just run like make gen watch, and it will just run that command. So kind of like we have some documentation here, also just some helper to type it in, and that will go and do its thing, and we should see a new version of this very soon. Let's let that go. All right, we're gonna go back to our server thing, because there's one other change we have to do here apparently. According to someone watching the live stream version of this, we actually need to encode this properly as a like search. So when you do a like search in a database, you actually, we're just going to still keep this, but what we want to do is wrap this in a % on either side. And that will kind of be like, okay, it's looking for a word. These are kind of like a wildcard character, wildcard, find our query, wildcard. There we go. So I made that change. Now, I do not have to actually run the generator again, because we didn't add a new function or change the shape of it, meaning what it returns or what is inputted to it. We do have to restart our server though, which I should have also done before. Okay, code is generated. We now have this. So the main difference here now is we want to pass in search. Oh, is this not? Sorry, there's still a piece we're missing. We have to go to our venue service, and we actually have to create this, of course. So we'll do the same thing. The main difference is we're also going to require a string called query, and then we're going to call search here, and here we have to pass in the query. Okay, that should solve that. Then if we go back here, which is where we were, we'll change this to search. And it's saying, hey, we need a query, so let's pass in a query. Now, where are we going to get that query from? Okay, int page. Interesting. I'm just trying to think the best way to do this because we want to be able to just goes to, yeah, adds a page request listener. Okay, cool. So let's pass in just a string as the second parameter called query. And this needs to be query, of course. And then over here, we're getting this error because we need to actually pass in something. Now, this is something I have to think about, and I will, but we're just going to like kind of get this working by passing like an empty string. And then refresh. And then the other difference is, we do need a way. We do need a way to know, is this a new search? Yeah, I guess we could, when we fetch the page, yeah, this isn't going to work exactly like this. Let me give this some thought for a second. All right, I'm giving this a little bit of thought. I think what we're going to do is we are going to, because we need something that's going to keep track of the query, obviously for just the searching, but we also need to know, we also need basically like, okay, if someone searches for something new, we don't just want to append the data on, we want to like do a full fresh start as opposed to what the infinite list is going to do. So we're going to make this actually a family. And to do that, we actually are going to put string query in here. We'll save. This should now rebuild, and we'll actually see that this is this will be something we work with as a family. So now we don't actually need query in here because we're going to use the query that is in state, which I think, yeah, Serverpod automatically, yeah, it makes it the same name. Great. So what I also need to do now is turn off the turn off the keep alive. So we can just we can do keep alive false. Maybe I'll do that just so like we remember we did it this way, because we don't want all these things to stay in memory. Basically, as soon as something's no longer watching it or reading it, it should kind of like dispose itself, which is what we want right now. Okay, so that gets us partway there at least. Now let's just go back to our venue list component, and let's kind of forget about our normal. Let's just focus on search, and we won't worry about our like normal list view coming back. And then we'll come back to figure out how do we like kind of clear it and that kind of stuff. Again, kind of making this up as I go. I've done these kinds of things many times in different tech stacks, and I've done this in Flutter, but not exactly in this architecture. So, but we'll get there. Okay, so what I'm kind of thinking is okay, I think I know how we want to do this. Well, yeah, let's actually just kind of test this out in a super basic way. So I'm going to copy this line right here. It's always nice to just kind of start small. So we're going to use the venue search provider here. And you see the difference is we have an error because it's a family, meaning it's expecting something to be passed in here. And here I'm going to pass in something like test. Doesn't evaluate to, oh shoot, I did venue service provider. Let's start over. Venue search provider. And here's the error, and we're going to just search for, let's search for the word like harv. Maybe we'll even search in the middle of the word, VEY. And we'll just refresh that, and let's just kind of like rebuild because of this big change. And you'll see actually it's as if we're searching for, V there. If I change this to odd, we're going to get back results that are just for odd. And there you go. So what we need to do is how do we, essentially, change this value? And I'm thinking for this, we're going to use a different type of provider. So we're going to have something. So we have our venue search provider, which is really like, I think this is actually our venue search list provider is probably what we should be calling this. So I'm going to make that name just so it's not confusing. So we'll save this, and we have our generator running, watching, so it should be fine. What do we have? Venue search list provider. What do we get? Must be part of a directive. Venue. Oh, because I have to rename. We have to keep these the same. So we'll just do that, and the generator should be good, and we're good. And then over here, we're going to have an error because we need to now call this venue search list provider, which is not auto venue search list provider isn't defined. What did I do wrong? Venue, oh, venue search list. I did list search. Okay, now we have that venue search list provider. Da, da. Now, so this is gonna keep the state of the results. This could also probably be called venue search results provider if we wanted to. But I like lists because that's what we're using elsewhere. Now what I wanted to actually make is a venue search provider dot dart. And we can actually make this really verbose. Search query provider. We're gonna have something that like kind of keeps track of what the current search query is. So for this, I actually want to use, and this is a provider I've never used before, and I was reading an article earlier about testing Serverpod and stuff, and I saw this type, and it kind of seems perfect for what we want to do. So I'm going to try, I might have to look at the docs for this, but we'll just call this venue search query provider before we forget. Provider. And I'm just going to look at the Serverpod. It's called, I think, just a state provider. And let's just see how this works. It's like a normal sort of provider. This content might be outdated. Hang on, am I not in the latest? Why is it saying it might be outdated? I just want to remember how to do this or figure out how to do this. And what this is, it's meant for just kind of tracking one value. And instead of building like the normal notifier sort of stuff with the setters and getters, you can just set it from like doing a ref.read. Okay, so, oh, maybe it's just as simple as this. Let's just make it. So we're not going to use a generator for this. I don't even think it's necessary. Venue search query provider. So we'll import state provider, and the type is going to be a string, but it's going to be nullable, meaning it can be. Actually, we probably could. And then this is, we return the default sort type here. I guess the default. So here we can just have an empty string. I think that's what this is saying. So I'll get rid of that. So venue search query provider. I think we can also just make it like that. So it'll be a string, but it can be an empty string. And the default will actually be empty string. Then what I'm thinking is, and let's just test how this could work. Let's go to our venue. Let's close some things. Venue list component. And what I should be able to do here is ref.watch. And I would use our query or our venue search query provider, which this will be of value. Well, it'll be a string once once it's executed. So let's just let's try that. Now the funny thing is, actually, I think doing an empty string, we're probably going to get all the results back. That's kind of handy. All right, so we have that. But what we need to do is actually get this value to update. Provider, perfect. So let's figure out that in our search bar. So here's our search bar right here. I think we can just have an on change event. And let's just make sure that this is working the way that we want. And we'll go to our debug console. So let's just see if the on change actually does stuff. It is. Okay. And do we have a debouncer already in this project? Debounce. Oh, why do we already have a debouncing search bar? Look at that. We're using this in the Google Place search. That makes sense. Okay, so we're actually going to replace this. I'm going to get rid of this and debouncing search bar. We're going to import, and we have an on change event. which let's just print the value, which we'll call v. It's fun when you get like deep in a project and you're also like obviously building other stuff on the side. You forget what you've done already. So we already have one of these. I think this does need that padding. So padding, 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 wrap with padding. And I think we probably added something for hint text on this, I would imagine. Hint text, look at that. We were thinking we'd want to use this elsewhere. Okay, so now we have a debouncing one. The difference of this is we should only see this thing trigger after kind of a delay. So there you see, I type delay. Boom. And there, which is what we want. We don't want it to like be hitting the API every character you type. So that's good. So now that we have this, we should be able to, and this is the part I also will need to look up, but I think it's just like this. We just read the venue search query provider. And then there's a way just to set it. Yeah, you just go like dot state. Oh, it's still dot notifier. Okay, that's great. That makes sense. Dot state, and we can actually set it to value. And let's similarly we'll trim the value after, so that if someone just has a space, it's really going to be treated as an empty, empty characters. Okay, so let's just see how this works. I'm going to do a rebuild. And let's just search for odd. So there's this weird thing happening, and I've noticed it. It's like not reinitializing it, and that's probably because we want to set it, and then we probably have to like refresh provider. Oh, wait. Okay, let's just look at this again. Oops, not that. The venue list provider. Because we have our build, it's doing this. We almost need to, will invalidating it just maybe do it. Ref dot invalidate. I think it's something to do with like watching within here. Oops, what am I doing here? I want to do this still. Let's just see if that actually does anything. Rebuild. So we get our initial list, and then it's not like, it's basically just kind of getting stuck in this this thing. Okay, so I believe what is happening is we are like re-rendering stuff here, but Flutter doesn't like understand that something needs to rebuild. So we can usually fix that with just a key. So we're gonna have a key here, and we want the key to be unique based on the search. So we'll just make the key name, I don't think it really matters, but we'll just call it like venue list, and then we'll append in the search query so that every time the query is different, it's kind of forcing it to rebuild. So I can just literally take this here that we did here and put it here, and then I think we're going to be in a good place. So let's just do a full rebuild. The button I love, and we'll search for the word odd, and there you have it. And we undo, we're good. Now, funny enough, our search is actually, because we're by default searching by an empty string, this is actually kind of working. Like we could probably just get away with having one provider, and like for our results. So right now we have this, and we have our list provider, and we're only using this one right now for kind of like testing purposes. But I realized, it kind of just works, because when you do an I like search with a blank, it just kind of gives you all the results anyways. So I'm considering just getting rid of the search one and basically turning this one into a family. That might just work. I'm just wondering, will that affect things in the future, like filtering and stuff like that? I'm not sure. I do like keeping these sort of separated because it is two different actions. Let's play with what the implementation would look like if we didn't go that route of combining. So basically what we would do is we would kind of do something, and I'm going to cast this actually to a variable here. We'll have it called search query is going to be equal to this. So this is just the string of the search query. And that way here we can also, use this and we do it somewhere else. So we're not watching in multiple places. We can just do that. Also, do I need the, we can use it here too. I wonder if I need, I don't know if I need that invalidating anymore. Let's just see if stuff still works with that little refactor. I don't see why it wouldn't unless I made a typo. Cool, odd. All right, and then let's get rid of the invalidate because I don't think that's necessary. Okay, yep, doesn't seem to be. Okay, cool. Now I'm noticing something weird. When I save, stuff kind of goes away. That's fine because obviously like a user can't just save the code. I'm sure we'll stumble on what is going on there at some point. Maybe it's a keep. Oh, you know what it could be. Does this auto dispose? Does a state provider? Is that what it's called? State provider. Does it auto dispose? Just search for the word dispose. It doesn't even show up on the screen. Let's see if it says anything about it. It's a simplification of this to avoid having notifier classes for very simple use cases. Yep. Okay, whatever. It's not really a real problem. Okay, what I want to do though is we now have the search query, and what we can do is we can make the provider, equal to, if the search query dot is empty, we would actually just use the ref.read and use the venue list provider instead of the venue search provider. Otherwise, we'll use this. The problem is now this is a generic. This is a problem because it doesn't know. Oh, wait. Forgot to do notifier here. Okay, it doesn't know what this is. It does know it's a notifier base, but it doesn't know what type it is. So that's one problem. Normally we could get around that by making some generics. Like we could have, a generic version of this that they extend so that we know it has the same thing. But it is starting to make me think like maybe we should just be using one for this. And I think that's what we're going to do. So let's undo that. Get rid of that. We'll get rid of our commented out code there. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our, probably the easiest way to do this is we're actually going to delete our venue list provider, and I'll delete the generated file too. And then we're actually going to rename this to venue list provider. And it got rid of our thing because we're watching. And now we just make this call, we just name this, and we just need to rename this too. So we're just going to make the one that we originally had basically the family version of this. And if we go back to our terminal, if it hasn't crashed, we should be good. Then, oops, oh, ow. Yeah, no, I don't want to save changes on that. Then we have to go here and we just have to rename this to venue list provider, and everything should be good. What's happening? There's some issue still. Yeah, venue list provider. Where's this problem? This could just be. Oh yes, venue. Ooh. I guess what we want to do is, so this is when you are creating a venue, I think, and we have a place to invalidate to refresh the list. So what we'll do is we'll just refresh the empty list. You know what? We can actually refresh. We can go ref.read and get our query, our venue search query provider, and use whatever's in there because that will be the version that's being used basically. Okay, cool. So that works, and now I can search for odd, and everything is great. The one thing is, well, let's do some stuff. I want to go odd and then actually leave this screen. We'll just go to like another screen and come back. So that's where we have a problem now because it's not. I think that I think it's being disposed is what's happening. Um, let us experiment for a moment and actually see if that's the case. So let's go to our venue. I'm just going to open up the query provider, and let's do this like our sort of normal way that we would do it. So I'll just open up what's our simplest provider. One that's not a detail one. That's a service provider. Okay. Venue form provider, I think. What is this? Yeah. Okay, let's just do this. So we're going to do the old @Serverpod sort of thing, and we're going to do keep alive true. And there's my Python coming through. Class, and we'll call this venue search query. And then again, provider would be get there, and we're going to extend venue search query. And we need to import this. Yep, there we go. And there we are. And yeah, we need an override, or we need a build function. So let's get that. And we basically want a string to come back from this. And by default, we're going to return just an empty string. Then we need a setter on it. So set query, and we'll just have a string called query. And we can just go state equals query, and let's just trim it here. I love trimming. We're just having a trimming day. And we need to get rid of this. And we need to do a part of venue search provider.g.dart. Let's save that. And if we go to our terminal, we find out that we probably missed something. What did I do wrong? Riverpod, keep alive true. Did this file not venue? Oh, yep. Search query provider. There's the problem. And we should mark this as override. Save that. Okay, so let's just rebuild. Funny enough, because we use that name, I think it's just going to work the same way. Okay, so let's try typing in odd, going here, coming back. Ah, so maybe... Oh, you know what? I wonder if it's to do with the search venue. Let's put this as keep alive true again. Odd burger, back. Okay, so that is interesting. Okay. We are going to keep this as true for now. Ideally, we'll find a way to dispose. I mean, we could maybe figure that out now. Find a way to dispose this, right? Because each search query is essentially now creating a separate thing. Now that we've done this, though, let's actually just put this back the way that it was, because I kind of liked using a state provider for this. Let's make sure that, whoa, the whole app crashed. Wicked. I'll get that back up. I'm going to pause the recording, though. All right. Okay, so I rebuilt the app, and yeah, we can actually, it looks like we can just use the way I kind of want to do this. I haven't used this kind of provider before. I didn't actually know it existed. And it's meant for really basic things, like just a very primitive state change type of state. So you wouldn't use it for lists, you wouldn't use it for complex models. It's just things where you can basically just set it. So yeah, what I wanted to really quickly do, how are we for time? I'm pretty good. I want to see if there's a way we can dispose essentially these guys, just so it's not being kept in memory. I'm sure the memory footprint's pretty small for this. Unless someone's searching like crazy, but let's see if we can make that a little bit better. So let's go to our venue list. Where is that? Venue list component. So here's where we actually set this. So I wonder if we can actually take whatever the search query is now, and we'll basically go ref dot, is there dispose? Well, let's just do ref dot read, and we'll use our venue list provider of whatever the current search query is. And can I just, how do you, is it dot notifier? Can I run dispose on it? How the heck do you do that? Oh, wait, what is this? Venue list provider dot notifier ref dot dispose, or maybe just invalidate will. What are our other options on this? So we have invalidate, listen, dispose. Invalidate will cause a provider to be disposed immediately. So that should work. The only thing is, like, I mean, it's going to happen in the same frame. So I think this will do it. If someone smarter than me knows a better way to do this, I'm all ears. But in theory now, as long as the search query is changed, we're going to dispose those old ones in the background. There we go. Seems to be working. Okay, cool. We'll keep it like that then. I think that wraps up this video. We now have searching for venues. Obviously, this is something we'll probably want to apply to events. It's something we might want to apply to, our feed at some point. But I think this is a good, good amount of work for this video. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next one.